Hello, everybody. Surprise, surprise, it's Friday. And I know I don't normally do a Friday podcast. I normally release them on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but I noticed that my scheduled one didn't go out on Wednesday. So I thought, oh, well, I still wanted to honour my commitment of, giving you two a week. So I thought, oh, I'll just do it today. So that's all good. I think something I do want to share with you is last night I was talking to a couple of girlfriends of mine and just kind of reflecting on life. And it's such a beautiful space that I have with these two ladies. And over time, I think we've been in our little group now for about 12 months. We didn't really know each other too well when we came in, but now we've got really deep relationships and I'm loving it. And so we can jump in and talk to each other anytime we want about, day-to-day things as well as things to do with practice. And I was sharing last night that I was kind of loving everything that was going on in the world at the moment as far as how it was affecting my business. And what I shared was I had realized that over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've actually taken better care of myself than I have over the last maybe 3, 4 or 5 years. I realized that, I had an old laptop and an old mobile phone. I got updated ones. I realized I had an old modem. I got an updated one. I have been eating differently and I've started walking again. So I live in the Western Port region of Melbourne and it's so beautiful down here. The bottom of my street, there's pelicans and a jetty and mangroves, and I can go on these really big walks because there's this big park down by the waterfront that was meant to be a golf course, but the permit was never approved. So if you can imagine a golf course by the water, that's what I get to walk around. And I've started walking around that. And anyway, I weighed myself yesterday for some reason and I've lost 7 kilos. I weighed myself this morning, it's actually 8. And so I started to feel better. And the other thing that I noticed was I had just started feeling a lot less stressed about work. So this week was the first week that I had actually been working from home. So I worked from home on Tuesday and Wednesday. And the reason that I sort of procrastinated about this was because I held a belief around my ability to work effectively. And I believed that in order for me to show up in the way my clients needed, that I needed to have the right frame of mind. And so that meant that I had to still get up in the morning, still drive down to the practice, even though it's an empty building now. I mean, there's just a little bit of furniture that needs to be removed. It's as good as empty. It's as good as vacant. But I was still turning up there every day and doing telehealth alone in this empty building. And, feeling not great about it because, it's not a nice space to be in when it's been pretty much stripped bare and there's no other bodies in there and things like that. And anyway, and then other things happened. One of my team members decided to leave and that's okay. And so she's gone. And, I was just thinking to myself, oh gosh, what's going to happen? And then I just thought maybe I will give it a try working from home. And so on Tuesday, that's what I did. And guess what? I loved it. I got to sleep in the morning. I didn't have to do the mad dash to roll out of bed, get dressed, put the high heels on and the lippy and run out the front door. I had time. I had an easy start to the day. I got to watch Anchorman, for half an hour before I started working. I actually got my lunch break. So I started scheduling lunch breaks about 18 months ago. So every day from 12 to 1, that's like my lunch hour. But when I'm down at the practice, because I'm running the two businesses, what was happening was a lot of the time I was trying to get out for a quick walk. So maybe I was out for 10 or 15 minutes. But then I would come back and I'd either be talking to my team about work, helping them with debriefing, giving them, sort of water cooler supervision, dealing with the other business. So I never really got much downtime at the practice. And then I'd come home and I would still be working on the other business, which was fine because I loved it. But I guess what I'm realizing now is that when I work from home, I can actually take that whole hour just to myself because I'm regaining time by not commuting to the practice. So with that 1 hour, what I've been able to do is actually make myself something to eat, sit down and relax and enjoy, perhaps watching TV or reading a book, or take Gabe for a walk around the block and not feel pressured or rushed to get back to the office, so to speak. And I'm noticing that my energy is better than it has been for a long time. And when my energy has been better, you feel better about yourself, right? When you raise your vibration, you feel better about yourself. And so I felt better about myself. And then I was also thinking to myself, okay, I'm really loving who I'm becoming now. And I think I've been holding on to a deep desire to be entirely online for quite some time, but it's been a bit of a push and pull between the two businesses. So my coaching business is entirely online, and I've wanted to shift All Psyched Up, that's my other business, to the online space. But for one reason or another, it just hasn't happened. Other things have always come up as priorities, or I've treated them as priorities. But now with COVID, I've kind of just said, okay, fine, well, I just have to do it. I've bit the bullet and I've done it. And I'm so pleased that I have. And as a result of that, my stress has gone right down. I'm noticing that I'm getting to build deeper relationships with my clients over the phone and online than I have in real life, so to speak. I mean, I've always enjoyed beautiful relationships with them, but now it's just taken it to the next level. And it's just the connection that I'm experiencing. I'm so appreciative of it. And my clients are so appreciative. And it's just this beautiful space that we're finding ourselves in now. My diary's great. I haven't had too much of a drop. In fact, as far as the practice goes, there was only a drop in income over the last month of 10%, which is nothing. And that 10%, I think, was just, people who were still on the fence about transitioning. But when I look at my data, I can see that I've had a 91% conversion from my online to telehealth, which is amazing. And new people every day are saying, okay, then let's give it a go. So I think that number is going to bounce back up, and I'll be back at my normal level of appointments soon. So I'm not too worried about that. And then I was thinking, wow, this is all just feeling so easy. What's the catch? What's going to happen? How can this be so easy? And I'm looking online and I'm thinking, oh gosh, everybody else seems to be struggling. Well, not everyone, but I'm thinking a lot of people are really struggling with this, and they've got dips in referrals, dips in appointments. Some people are closing their private practices altogether. And, thinking, how am I operating so differently to other practice owners? Why is my experience so different? And then I started to realize, well, perhaps it's a lot of this soul work that I've been doing. And maybe it's a lot around the integration of spiritual practice into the private practice that's responsible for this. So little things like gratitude, little things like expressing gratitude to clients for turning up to appointments, expressing gratitude to referrers for sending clients. Little things like that are examples of how you can infuse your, daily practice with a spiritual practice. And I believe that when you do that, it raises the vibration of your practice and you end up attracting more referrals. I mean, we have 5 new referrals in one day this week, and I believe it's because we raised our vibration. And then the other thing that I realized was, as I was less stressed, so I'm not rushing in the morning to go to work, I'm not rushing to come home, I'm not rushing in my lunch hour, my diary's good, my income's good. I've been able to afford things that I never thought would be possible in a global pandemic with everybody hanging on to every dollar. But I've bought a new laptop, mobile phone, modem, all this sort of stuff. And then I started to think, wow, I'm actually now starting to realize the version of myself that I've been trying to manifest for, about the last 12 months. So I've always had this idea in my mind of how I wanted to show up for my clients, how I wanted to show up for private practice owners, how I wanted to show up on social. And I realized that as I'm starting to feel better about myself, as I'm starting to raise my own vibrational set point, just things are happening very organically without a conscious awareness. So for example, I had this realization that there are patterns that have been happening in my life. Now, this happened because I was helping somebody else with her practice. And I found myself listening to what I was saying, and I thought, oh, this is really good, Brooklyn. You need to apply this to yourself. So when I got off the call, I did. And I noticed that, I had to ask myself, what are the patterns? But I noticed a few significant things that have happened in my personal life, in my business life, and that, there's an area of overlap of things that have happened in my business and personal life that, manifested in my reality. And with the realization of those patterns, it was huge. It happened last night. Now I get to actually spend some time over the weekend doing the inner work. And then, if you like, I'll share with you what came up. But what I realized was, I had this idea in my mind of who I wanted to be, but I didn't believe that I could actually be that person. I didn't believe that I could actually become that person. It felt too hard. I didn't prioritize myself. I was prioritizing the businesses. I was prioritizing you guys. I was prioritizing, clients, everybody else, but I wasn't prioritizing myself. I was putting myself last. And as a result of that, what happened was my businesses were doing well, as you know, but I was falling over in other areas of my life. I'd let go of ballroom dancing, which I loved. I was the girl who trekked up to Base Camp Everest on a whim. I was the girl who walked the Camino, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I did it just, once a year for 3 years, and I did it in a period of weeks. I mean, who does that? I was that girl. I loved adventure. I haven't had an adventure for 3 or 4 years. I was hiking every single weekend. I haven't done that for years. I was dancing every single week, 3 nights a week, and having private lessons on the weekend. I was happy and I was lit up. I haven't done that for years. I've just been focusing on the business. So, and deluding myself that my business was enough, because my business made me feel good. But what I see now is that alone was not enough. And so what happened is my passion for the business kind of took over. As a result of that, I didn't create time for things I love in my life, like dance, like hiking, like, adventurous trips overseas and stuff like that. I stopped doing that. And I stopped taking care of my body. And what that meant was I actually gained, I was 64 kilos and then I went up to 74. Can you believe that? 74. I've never been that big. And so I realized that I was 74 at the end of last year. And it was around that time that I was watching Netflix and a show came on called The Game Changers, which I don't know if you've seen it or not. And I don't know what your opinion on it is or not. But what happened was I watched that documentary and I realized in that moment, oh my gosh, look what meat is doing to my body. And in that moment of seeing what meat was doing to my body, I just thought, I don't want to eat meat anymore. So I kind of became vegetarian on the spot, and it's just something I can't wrap my head around now. I do not want to do to my body what meat does to my body, so I let it go. And if you still want to eat meat, of course, go for it. I'm just sharing with you like my experience. So I let meat go, and it wasn't hard, actually. It wasn't hard. I'm not vegan. I still eat cheese. In fact, cheese is pretty much my staple at the moment. But that's another story. So I went vegetarian. I started to feel better. I felt better for the fact that I was being mindful about what I was putting into my body. Being vegetarian, I wanted to also make sure that I wasn't eating processed foods anymore. It's something that had always been preached about on Instagram and stuff like that, but I never really resonated with it. But being vegetarian, I thought, I want to try and see if I can eat whole foods now and just see how that goes. And so I pretty much stopped eating processed foods for a while, but that didn't last. I found it really difficult. And then what happened was about 3 months ago now, I could tell you the exact date because I posted something about it on my Facebook profile. I came across keto and I'd heard about keto, and then I thought, I'll give that a go. And within about a month of following a keto diet, I'd lost 3 kilos. I know 2.5 kilos I'd lost. And then a couple of weeks after that, I was off my thyroid medication. Apparently, I no longer needed it. I'd managed to improve my thyroid levels just by changing my diet and by walking again and things like that. And so I was off medication. I got Hashimoto's. I'm not taking medication for that now. Or I've got a compromised immune system. I no longer need to take medication for that because my blood test results are now saying that those things are, back in the green zone. So now it's just a matter of monitoring and making sure I can do it. But I think I've raised my vibration by taking better care of what I'm putting into my body. And so anyway, I've lost all this weight. I'm walking more. I'm spending more time at home and I'm loving it. I feel so in my zone here. And I think it's coming through with how I'm working with my clients, because this week I had 2 more clients enroll in different things, and that was really exciting. Today we've got the 5-day manifesting challenge happening, and I'm so excited about that. There'll be a Facebook, pop-up Facebook group, and I'll invite everyone who's registered to join that if they want to, and then they can just come in and they can have a look at all of the content. Every day there's going to be a little video. But I've also got a monthly mentorship group, and a bunch of people in that group have also signed up for the 5-day manifesting challenge. So for people in that group, I'm going to give them extra stuff, like extra content, because I really want to look after them. But then I realized too, I'm going off on a tangent. As I was talking to my girlfriends last night, I realized too that I've bought some clothes this week. Now, I can't remember the last time I, purchased clothes for myself just because I wanted to. And they're clothes that I want to wear on my videos now. I have an image that I want to step into now. And it's the image that I've held in my mind of how I wanted to show up on social media for the longest time. But because I wasn't prioritizing myself, I just didn't. And so now I've gone and I've bought some clothes, and I'm so excited for how I get to look on social media when they arrive. Everything's online now, isn't it? So I can't wait for that. And then the other thing that I did was I bought myself some jewelry, and I never buy myself jewelry. All my money goes on books, which I love. Like I'm a book addict. You should see my library. It's just growing every day, and I'm so proud to say I've read every single one of those books. So buying jewelry was really a huge thing. And guess what? I splurged. I bought jewelry that I can't wait to wear, because I know it aligns with my soul's calling and my soul's purpose. And it's going to be so, 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 so fun to wear it. And I'm going to get to wear it on my social. And I'm so excited for that. And I'm so excited now to have time to make myself look decent before I come on all these videos. So I feel like there's been this big shift again. And if I think back to patterns, it was about this time last year that I think I had my other big shift. I think that was around the time I got my headshots done. I got my branding done. This is the other thing. I realized during the week that, some of these patterns that I've got is in the past I've allowed myself to be influenced by what other people think. And anyway, last year, as you know, I had this amazing coaching session with a guy who was, also involved with working with people like Zig Ziglar, Walt Disney, who's the guy who wrote Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, stuff like that. I can't believe this guy gave me, his time and coached me through taking my business to the next level, and it worked. But one of the things that came up from there was he suggested I change my business name from Brooklyn Storm to Brooklyn Storm Business Acceleration. So I took it on board because I trusted and, I wanted to implement everything that he said. And what happened was I did that, but in my soul, the name Business Acceleration never really resonated. I never really connected with it because I was very spiritual and I felt that acceleration was very masculine. But anyway, I did it. And the other thing that I did was I needed to get a logo, obviously, for my brand. And I got a designer to create some logos for me. And I got my group at the time to vote on my logos. And, my group, overwhelming majority chose this one particular logo, and it just did not feel right for me. But I thought, well, they've all said that they liked it more than the one I liked, so maybe I should just go with that. And that's what I did. And it never resonated with me. And I guess looking back, what happened as a result of that was I had all sorts of issues with the actual file for my logo that meant a lot of the time I couldn't resize my logo. It was not in the colors that I wanted. The only version of the logo that I could work with was not the PNG version, but it was the one that had the white background. So it meant that whenever I was going to use it, I could only use it on a white background and just stuff like that. I know now that was the universe saying, look, you picked something that's not aligned with you. Stop listening to everybody else and bloody make your own decisions. So what I've done now is, as a result of this big transformation that I'm going through again, I have hired a new designer to come up with a new logo, and I can't wait to get that. And so everything just feels like it's starting to come into alignment, and I want to share with you insight to a framework that you can use that can help you start to recognize what alignment looks like for you in your practice, and open opportunities for you to get your practice more in sync with your purpose. So that's what we mean by infusing your private practice with a spiritual practice. Spirituality is around purpose and meaning. It's not around anything else. It's not around religion or anything like that. It's just around purpose and meaning. So there are 4 pathways, I guess you could call them. The first one is, just to understand that your soul knows its purpose. Your soul knows why it's here, and your soul is always guiding you. And different leaders will talk about your soul in different ways. And, I think Gabby Bernstein talks about your soul as your inner guidance system. Other people call it your inner GPS. Some people call it like their true north or their highest self. So call it whatever you like, but we're all talking about the same thing here. But your soul leaves clues in a few different areas. And the first is intuition. So intuition is that 6th sense that you have. Now, there is a belief, and you don't have to subscribe to it, but I'll share it with you. But there's a belief that we're spiritual people we're spiritual beings having a human experience, that we came here to learn something for our own soul growth, for our own soul evolution. And, we are more than 3-dimensional people. We are 4 and 5-dimensional people. And what we mean by that is we don't only be in the world through our senses, right? Your sight, taste, touch, smell, and hearing are physical things in your physical 3D reality. They're tools that you need to have in order to make your way around in this world. But they're ways of getting physical information, all right? When you see something, it goes to your brain and it sets off a whole lot of things happening. Same for when you smell, touch, taste, sound, right? It's very physical. That's what we mean by 3D. 4D is the non-physical ways that we be in the world and that we give and receive information. And that is really around things like your consciousness. You can't see or touch consciousness or subconsciousness or unconsciousness or anything like that. So it's more around feeling. And a lot of the time, I think we come into the world being quite intuitive because we're still learning mastery over the physical 3D senses. But then as we mature and develop and grow, what happens is, there's a tipping of the scales, and that becomes more in favor of the physical stuff than the non-physical. And so a lot of us forget to tune into our intuition, and we forget to tune into our gut. So I think in your private practice, if you want to start being more spiritually informed, I think a great place to begin is by listening to that sixth sense, listening to that feeling, listening to that voice inside your mind that says, why is this happening? What's going on here? Something's off, something's not right. Or, yay, I love this. Yes, this feels easy. Listening to that intuition. You don't have to act on it yet, but just start training yourself to hear it. And that might mean pausing what you're doing. But start training yourself to hear what your intuition is saying, okay? And just see what you notice over time. As you become more proficient with hearing your intuition and listening to your intuition, then you'll be able to take action if you want to from that space. The next thing is life clues. So really, a life clue is a clue around alignment in terms of your private practice being a mirror of your core beliefs. Your private practice is a reflection of what you believe about private practice. It's a reflection of what you believe about yourself. It's a reflection of what you believe about your purpose, your worth, your values, your vision, all of those sorts of things. So looking at COVID, you might say, well, where are the clients? Why aren't the clients here? How should I be marketing now so that I can call in more clients? All of those sorts of things. But I want you to say, if it's a reflection of my inner world, this private practice, what's going on in my inner world that's causing me not to have referrals now? What's going on in my inner world that's causing me not to be marketing my practice now? What's going on in my inner world that's causing me to still be doing face-to-face appointments, putting myself and my family at risk? Perhaps that came up as a topic in another conversation I was having with someone. But really asking yourself, okay, this unwanted thing's happening in the private practice now, and I need to change it, I need to fix it, I want to solve it. That is going to require you to look inside yourself and say, what is going on for me that's causing this? Okay, am I scared of marketing? Is that why I'm not marketing? Am I scared of putting myself out there? Am I scared of being visible? Am I scared of being judged? Is that why I'm not marketing? And then the marketing's resulted in not having the clients. Trying to understand what your beliefs are around clients, referrals, bookings, no-shows, cancellations, fees. Look at your beliefs around all of those sorts of things, and you'll be able to see them marrying up. What you're saying to yourself is manifesting in your practice. If you don't like what you're seeing in your practice, you need to change a belief that you have around that thing in your practice. If you need help with that, you can absolutely get help. I've got the private practice group, and it's coaching, and I'll be happy to help you through it. So if you want to join, contact me and I'll help you there. The other thing about life clues is this idea of metaphor. So some people would say, if you start to notice certain patterns happening in your life, it's because it's the universe's way of giving you a message. So, you know, if you see butterflies around you a lot lately, butterflies are symbolic of change. They're symbolic of growth, metamorphosis, evolution. So if you start to see lots of butterflies around you, but you're not happy with where your private practice is, maybe that's a sign that you need to change. Maybe it's a sign that your practice is evolving. Maybe it's a sign that you need to step outside your comfort zone in order to become the butterfly of your private practice, in order to allow that change into something beautiful. You know, something amazing is waiting for you on the other side of this fear if you just allow it. So start to notice, be aware. Are you seeing feathers everywhere? Are you seeing butterflies everywhere? Are you seeing a particular animal everywhere? Are you seeing a particular word, hearing a particular song? Start to pay attention to those things, because it's possible that they could be clues for your private practice. The other thing is dream clues. So when you're in a dream state, obviously you're not in a state of conscious awareness, and so all your defenses are down. And one of the schools of thought around dream work is that the function of a dream is to resolve an anxiety or a difficult situation that you weren't able to resolve during the day. And, there's a saying, go to sleep or sleep on it and wake up in the morning and you'll know what to do or you'll have your answer. That's where this comes from. So really starting to be aware of what you're dreaming about. And a cool way of doing this is to keep a pen and paper beside your bed. Now, there aren't that many people in the world that get 8, 9 or 10 hours solid sleep. It's a myth. It's something we all think that we should be doing, but it's not true. Most people will wake up once or twice a night and it will take them between 15 minutes and an hour to fall back asleep most of the time. There are always exceptions to the rule. But on average, that's what it looks like. And you can use this wake time to quickly jot down anything you can remember from your dream. It doesn't have to make sense, but just jot it down. And the value of jotting down about your dream is that two things. Number one, it trains your brain to get in the habit of dream recall, and you'll eventually get to the point where you don't need to put the pen on the paper anymore. You'll naturally start to be able to remember your dreams. But it will also help you with identifying patterns, opportunities, soul speak, clues for how you could be doing things differently in the practice and things like that. Now, a lot of people find dream work to be incredibly powerful. For me, it's not something that's helped me a lot because my sleep's compromised, or my sleep has been compromised in the past. So I don't get much value out of dream work, but it really can be very, very powerful as a tool for helping you gain deeper insight into aligning your purpose with your practice again. The last area is body clues. So I love this. And when I first started learning about body clues, as a form of a soul whisper or a soul nudge for something being out of kilter in your private practice or in your life, it really opened up a whole new level of awareness for me and curiosity, and I started to pay more and more and more attention to things. So it's not a new idea. It's been around for centuries, and not only in the spiritual world, but also in the world of energy work and in Eastern medicine and Eastern philosophy. And basically the main tenet is that when you experience a physical pain, it's your mind or your spirit's way of calling your attention to something that's not going well for you in the world around you. For example, if you notice that you're getting pain across the top of your shoulders, your upper back, there might be a belief that you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. That might be a belief that your soul or your conscious mind is saying, hey, you need to find a way to lighten the load. You're taking on too much. And when you have that awareness, you can think, okay, well, let's see what would happen if I did delegate some things, or what's stopping me from delegating, or am I holding on too tightly to things? That's another one. If you have wrist pain, like wrist cramping and stuff like that, sometimes that might be a clue that you're holding on to something too tight. Are you trying to control outcomes too much? And what can you do to loosen your grip? And what might that have in terms of benefits for your private practice? And there's another one that's, a metaphor for pain as well. When you experience pain in your lower back, it's said to indicate that you're feeling unsupported. And so start thinking about what your pains mean for you. All of these examples I've given you are just general examples that are out there in the world, but they might not apply to you. You have to find the meaning for each physical symptom for yourself, and you'll start to be able to match all of these things up when you start raising your awareness around them. So they're the 4 areas that you can use to help get a better understanding of where your soul is at in terms of its purpose, and where you're at in terms of your reality with private practice, and start to see the discrepancies. And when you have that awareness of the discrepancies, you too will be able to start implementing some changes. And with those changes, you're going to take your practice to the next level. So this is all really, really beautiful work, and this is just one framework that we use to help practice owners identify what might be going on for them in their business so that they can bring things back into alignment with their purpose, so that they can feel like things are easier, lighter, they feel happier, the money's coming, they're working less, the practice is less dependent on them being the sole, income earner. And you get to experience all these beautiful shifts in so many different ways. And I want that so much for you too. As I said, we've got the 5-day manifesting challenge today that you're still welcome to join. I'll put the link in the show notes for you. And if you want more information about the private practice monthly mentorship, I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Do check it out. There's still some spaces available for founding members at the founding member rate, which is only 97 Australian dollars a month. I mean, that's ridiculously affordable for coaching for your private practice. Come on. I normally charge $3,497 for coaching for 90 days. So to be able to experience your own shifts and your own transformations and get a taste of what coaching might be like for you for just $97 is ridiculous. I mean, I would be saying, can you afford not to be investing in that at the moment, Anyway, have a beautiful, 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 beautiful Friday. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. And if there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll pop my email in the show notes, or you can head over to brooklynstorme.com, and I will talk to you tomorrow on Saturday. I'll be back on track with my podcast then. Have a lovely day, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.